Hello and welcome to the Orangutan Odysseys' very first webinar, Orangutan Adventure Travel, How, Where and Why. I'm Hayley the Expedition Manager at Orangutan Odysseys. This is Garry Sundin and Leif Cocks. And today we've partnered with the Orangutan Project to talk to you about ecotourism and what it means and how it is helpful in Indonesia. We'll also be talking about the impact of COVID-19 in Indonesia. Throughout the webinar, we would like to encourage you to ask questions through the chat function. We'll be conducting a Q&A toward the end of the webinar where we'll answer your questions. As this is our first webinar, we're hoping that there are no hiccups, but please just bear with us. Our first speaker today is Garry Sundin, the owner of Orangutan Odysseys, to talk about what is currently happening on the ground in Indonesia.
Hi everybody, Garry Sundin here, the General Manager for Orangutan Odysseys, and I'm excited and very happy to be here with you today. With my good friend and orangutan hero, Leif Cox from the Orangutan Project. So we hope we can bring you a little bit of information, some updates, and hopefully encourage you to join us in our mission to support the work being done by the Orangutan Project and come along, help raise awareness and support us in saving the orangutan and their rainforest habitats. So just like to kick off, I've got a short presentation I'll be just talking over. So this will just sort of guide us through where we're doing. So just bear with me. Hopefully you can see that's okay. Hayley might make my video a little bit bigger so you can see me if you really like to. So Orangutan Odyssey started in 2011, 9 years ago. Since that time, we've been thrilled to take hundreds of guests over, see the orangutans in the wild, see what amazing beings they actually are, and why we need to work so hard to allow them to live naturally as they're meant to be, free, roam the jungles, and have and save the rainforests and the jungles that are their homes for their future, so they can survive happily and peacefully for a long time to come. That's what we're after to do. So we've been thrilled to have so many people come with us, and also extremely thrilled that we've been able to help raise over $1 million towards conservation projects that have been managed and by Leif Cox and the Orangutan Project throughout Indonesia. So we hope that once this horrible COVID has started to fade away, we can continue with that mission and bring lots more people. Oops, sorry about that. I pressed the wrong button. We said there might be a hiccup. There you go. So just a quick COVID update over here. I live in, by the way, the island of Lombok, which is next to Bali in Indonesia. The situation over here has things are fairly steady here at the moment, and in some good news is that in some areas they're actually improving, and we've been excited that a few of the national parks where we actually go to visit orangutans and do some of our jungle adventures and river trips have opened recently, not in full, but at least they're opening and under fairly strict health conditions. So we're encouraged by the fact that some of these areas are now beginning to open up and allow for some tourists to come back in it, be it on very limited basis, and of course, mainly only local and a few expats, given that the international flights are still stuck. But in both Malaysia and Indonesia, things are steady, improving in some fronts. And I'm very hopeful that by the end of the year, early next year, all the areas will start to clear up and be at least free for other countries to determine and discuss with Indonesia whether they can come in and come out. But we certainly hope there'll be a small, at least a bubble with perhaps some of the Southeast Asian countries like Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, etc. As a result of COVID, obviously, we've had to look at how we're going to make our trips safe for you. So we've started developing our own procedures, and with the obviously the obvious matters like hand washing, masks, hand sanitizing, social distances. So all of those things we've looked at how we can apply them while we're travelling, both in cars and in buses, on boats, and hotels and the various means of transport. So all of these procedures and policies are being developed and put in place, so you can be assured when it is safe for you to join us and travel next year, that your health will be our primary concern. So the guests are number one. There's a lot of things there we've got to consider. I'm not that list is not there for you to read at the moment, but it will be available on our website. So at any time you'd like to visit orangutanodysseys.com to have a look at our tours. You'll also be able to have a look and see it at our various safety and health procedures and policies, and those things will bring you up to date and hopefully give you a bit of assurance that what we're doing is trying to make sure your safety and health is our number one consideration. And of course, not only your safety and health, but also vitally important is that of the orangutan. So along with policies that we have to look after you, our guests, and our staff and teams that we're working locally with, we have to make sure the orangutans and the rest of the animals in the rainforests that we visit are all kept safe too. So those policies are in place for them, but also for you. So we hope you understand that, we operate on under strict conditions. We have a strict no contact policy with any animals, and that's in their best interest as well as your best interest. So we hope you'll be able to find some time perhaps and have a look at the website and see some of the things. And if you have any questions, of course, we encourage you to email us and contact us at any time you like. At the moment, with the way COVID is, we have been doing some appeals and raising some funds. We've sent about $6,000 worth of food parcels already to the various locations across Indonesia, where our local teams, guides, our porters, boat operators, local travel organisations, who currently are suffering hugely with the fact that the tourism has now stopped completely. So we're doing our best that we can to support them and help them with some food parcels. And our guests have been very generous, and we'd like to thank them very much for those of you who have donated already and helped us with getting these supplies across to the guides and other organisations and their families. It's been fantastic. And from this point on, as part of this COVID-19 appeal, we'd just like to note that we will be donating $50 from every tour that's booked. Will go directly to that COVID-19 support appeal that we're currently running, which you can assure will go directly to the various groups and families over there. So what's happening next year and beyond? Well, we've got lots of exciting new things coming up and developing. Again, in this short time I have today, I can't tell you about them all, but we do basically take our guests to every orangutan location that there is possible to see. If we're not aware, orangutans can only be found on two islands, and that's the island of Borneo, which consists of Indonesia and Malaysia, as well as Sumatra. And the orangutans are currently only based up in North Sumatra and up in Aceh province. So we're developing new tours through all those areas, which again you can read about on our website. We've got a couple of great tours, 3 great tours with Leif Cocks for the second half of next year. And I really encourage you to try and join one of those if you can. Travelling with Leif and learning from him is truly something special, as you might be able to read from a few of the testimonials that appear on our website from past guests that have joined them. Along with that, we're excited. We've got a special new tour going up to Laos in Southeast Asia to see the elephant project up there, where elephants are being released into the wild and protected, and we'll have a chance to have an amazing trip up there. So that trip's coming soon, and we're looking forward to announcing that. And again, Leif will be joining us on that trip as the expert host. So how does your travel help with supporting our local communities? It's fairly simple. As most tourism does, it generates an income. So our motto is saving the environment through tourism, as the fact that we want to show the local communities that they can be employed in tourism, and that will protect the forest, and that protecting the forest will be more valuable than destroying it. So by you coming along, we create jobs, we create an income, we create education, and we create an enthusiasm from the local people to protect their environment, so that they can create more jobs, and they understand the value of keeping the forests over destroying them. So by you supporting us and travelling with us, you know that you're making a positive impact, not only to supporting the animals, but also supporting the local people, which obviously is very important. And of course, you help our local teams, and in conjunction with that, you will be helping save the orangutans by doing 2 things. One, you will be raising awareness. When you come with us, we give you an education. We don't just take you there and throw you in the jungle, let you look, take a photo and send you home. We try and give you a wide variety of information about where you're traveling, what these areas do, why they're so vital to maintain, and how you traveling actually helps doing that. It helps doing that by supporting the jobs that we can create by you coming. And it also, you will go back and talk about why it's important, so that helps raise awareness and helps find more people to know about what's happening. Along with that, every tour that we sell, a portion of that goes directly to the Orangutan Project in the form of a donation, which helps Leif Cox and his organisation with the various projects that they undertake to save the orangutans and help protect the rainforest. So we hope that gives you a little bit of an understanding about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I thank you for taking the time. I hope that you will dream about travelling with us and seeing the orangutan in the wild, because one of the biggest kicks I get is that every person, their first time over there, when I see them, the first time they're into the jungle and they look up and see that wild orangutan, the look on their faces and in their eyes is something very special. And that's something I hope maybe you can get to experience with me and with Leif and with our fantastic local team over here in Indonesia and up in Malaysia. So thank you, everybody, for listening to me. I'll hand you back over to the wonderful Hayley, who does a fantastic job for us in managing the various the bookings, the administration, the payments, and all of the questions that come in prior to people leaving on their trips. And we look forward to, as Hayley's mentioned, if you've got any questions, please put them up, and I'll hand you back to Hayley and then over to Leif. Thank you.
Thanks, Garry. Our next speaker is Leif Cox, the founder and president of the Orangutan Project. Leif has worked with orangutans for over 30 years and will be talking to you today about the importance of ecotourism and how it works hand in hand with conservation.
Thanks, Hayley. I'd like to talk to you today a little bit about making the right decision with ethical ecotourism. And thank God we have this wonderful partner, Orangutan Odysseys, that we can partner with to bring people meaningful and deep experiences that don't affect or harm the orangutans and the environment. One of the key issues that we've always faced with these kind of tourist trap locations where most of us innocently go when we first want to see orangutans is this human contact. And Garry explained how COVID-19 is extremely important for us to get on top of and making sure it doesn't affect the orangutan population. But even before that, we were deeply concerned about transmitting human diseases into a naive population of persons such as orangutans that share 97% of the DNA with us. And this is why we would never go to areas where they allow tourists, unchecked with quarantine or testing, to have close contact with orangutans. So you could be getting a kind of an experience, but you could actually be destroying what you love, what you're seeking to help. One of the other factors is, which I don't like very much, are the feeding platforms that you often see at these kind of high-level tourist locations. And because orangutans are solitary animals, having them concentrate in these small areas and compete for food and resources in such a high concentration really stresses them out. I see aberrant behavior and horrible stress patterns, which maybe the tourists don't recognize, naive about orangutan behavior, but certainly for me, working with orangutans for 30 years, it can be quite disconcerting. And of course, this lowers their immune system from that long-term stress. And of course, the transfer of diseases is, the feeding platform basically becomes a perfect petri dish for the transfer of diseases. And of course, the third factor is that we want the orangutans to live wild and to live free. And of course, if the system is set up where people's livelihoods are dependent on orangutans coming into the feeding platforms and offering quick, convenient viewing for a large group of tourists, then there's a natural incentive to stop the orangutans from going back into the wild. And so what you don't have, these are not horrible people who are out to ruin orangutans for cheap money. They're often very dedicated. But what you do have is when you have the conflict between personal interests and the interests of conservation, you have this cognitive distance, which all humans are very susceptible to, i.e. the willful blindness. And of course, you start knowing all these wonderful people who are trying to make a living, and you start making these false dichotomies of, do we keep this unsustainable tourism going, affecting the orangutans, affecting their rehabilitation, in contrast to, we need to keep people employed in connection. But these zero-sum games of binary decision-making is really often not true. And I think what we're demonstrating with our partner Orangutan Odysseys, there is a third way where we can actually have meaningful, actually deeper, far more impacting tourist experiences through sustainable ecotourism, which is ethical, seeing orangutans the right way, and have deep, wonderful experiences. And also going to meet the heroes, the actual conservationists on the ground every day, fighting for orangutan conservation, rescue and rehabilitation. And what you get is these very deep, meaningful experiences which change your life. And if you do have the opportunity to come on one of my ecotours, I do lectures every night, taking people through the experience, because that deeper understanding of what's happening and how wonderful orangutans are actually increases the experience. And lastly, through Orangutan Odysseys, we've done it so many times where we go into the rainforest and we connect, because this is kind of where we evolved as hunter-gatherers in a very deep and meaningful way. It's like coming home. And there's this beautiful but strange connection with the rainforest, which people often experience at the same time. And of course, orangutans, as I describe, are the more noble form of humanity, persons just like us. If we can see them wild, living their own lives, and be able to connect with them on a meaningful basis safely like that, it often becomes one of the most deep and meaningful experiences that people can experience. And of course, lastly, we want to help. And so instead of the money going to, a large corporation or commercial entity, going on one of these Orangutan Odyssey tours and the Leif Cocks tours as an example, you contribute directly and significantly to the projects, the heroes on the ground that you're meeting, and therefore you not only have a wonderful experience for yourself and a deeper connection, you also know and can see firsthand the difference that you're making to make a meaningful difference to saving orangutans, that rainforest, and in no small way through saving the rainforest, preventing climate change and providing a better environment and future for our children. That's my short talk for today, and I'd like to hand you back over to the wonderful Hayley from Orangutan Odysseys, and I'm here to answer any questions that you like.
Thank you, Leif. We'd now like to start our Q&A. So we have both Leif and Garry here to answer your questions. Our first question has come from Troy, and he says, were orangutans once found in other parts of Indonesia and Malaysia too?
Mm-hmm. I might take that one, Hayley. Orangutans actually existed historically all the way up into southern China, the ancient orangutans, and was slowly driven them to extinction through being hunted. And they're very susceptible to this because they're the slowest reproducing species in the world. And they also existed on the island of Java. That's as far as they got to the south. And so when the last couple hundred years, they've basically been left on two islands, the islands of Sumatra and the islands of Borneo, in which over the last 20 years period, we've lost 80% of the habitat and population. So they've been declining with human interaction for centuries, but this is deeply accelerated now, and this is the reason why we've got the next 10 years to turn the situation around and save the orangutans, in part through the wonderful work of Orangutan Odysseys of providing people meaningful experiences and connecting people with real conservation projects.
All right, we've got our next question for Garry. How do you keep the environmental footprint light whilst in the jungle, and are there limits to plastic and rubbish on tour?
Yeah, it can be a tough one, given Indonesia doesn't necessarily have access to all the modern facilities that we are used to in our own homes and countries, and obviously can be a challenge in the jungles. And bearing in mind, Indonesia doesn't have any potable water, so all drinking water is in plastic bottles. But what we try and do to overcome that is we buy our water in bulk in large 6-gallon containers, and we provide a pump with that. So instead of 2 cartons of bottled water, we've got one big refillable gallon, which we can use with a pump and refill our bottles, and hence reduce our plastic. As we were coming to the end of last year, our program was to be plastic free on all of our tours. We did accomplish that in a couple of our trips, and we're getting close to it on others. We hope when we get started in 2021 that every one of our trips will be plastic free, and any plastic that we do happen to use, if we do run into trouble or need emergency supplies, we will bring back for our recycling program. We also try and look for accommodation that is eco-friendly, and they might run with solar power. They might grow their own, have their own vegetables growing for their meals and various things like that. So we try and look at doing our best to find new and innovative ways to keep our footprint as low as possible.
Thanks, Garry. We have a question from Louise. She's asking about what age are the tours suitable for, and do you have to be fit to go on tours, and can she bring her primary school age children?
Well, you can do that one, Hayley.
Sure. So yes, the short answer is yes. You can bring your primary school age children. We're able to put together a tour that caters to your family or whatever age group are travelling. Leif's tours come in different fitness levels, and we do that deliberately so we can get as many different people on tour as possible. So yes, please contact us and I'll be able to advise you on which tour would be suitable for your family or your fitness level. And now we have another question here, a similar question from Sophie, who says she loves adventure and camping, and is there a tour that would suit her?
Is that Sophie? I've got Sophie. I've got the perfect tour for you.
Go.
Yeah. If you want a real adventure tour, we've got a very special tour which we only run every couple of years, called the Last Place on Earth Challenge. It's just run in the Lausa ecosystem in North Sumatra and Aceh. It's an adventure that goes for 17 days, where we climb a mountain. We spend 3 days rafting down a river. We visit a research station that's looking after the biggest protection in terms of area of rainforest anywhere in Southeast Asia. Fantastic organisation. We go jungle trekking looking for orangutans and other amazing wildlife. It is a tough trip. We do about 4 or 5 nights of camping. It's not for the faint-hearted, and a moderate to high level of fitness is probably required, and an adventure, a very adventurous spirit. But it is a really amazing trip, and if you're up for the challenge, then please contact Hayley. Anybody wants to contact Hayley at orangutanodysseys.com. She'd be more than happy to send you the links and all the information.
Yep, that's right. So I've got a really interesting question here. I think this is probably for Leif. How do you feel about the program in Borneo called Orangutan School?
The program in Borneo called Orangutan School.
That's the filming of that they do in Boss. You know, the orangutan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like it's on Discovery Channel.
Yeah,
yes,
Orangutan Jungle School.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. I haven't seen the series myself. I don't have what's it called, cable TV. However, it's a great organisation that is they're filming at, and it's wonderful that the way they can connect so many people with these young little orangutan lives, and because we're more likely to give and care about the things that we love and connect to. And so anything such as the Orangutan Jungle School program and these eco tours, which Orangutan Aussie does, that connects people in a meaningful way is extremely important, because that distance between us and doesn't make sense, exploiting other people, other species, other environments, is destroying the planet, because we have this tribal capacity to only see within our circle, but we have the capacity to destroy a whole planet. So caring for loving for everybody, including these young orangutans in the Jungle School documentary, is a really important thing.
Okay. We also have a question from Jody, who says, do you often see orangutans in the wild?
Mm-hmm. Look, yeah, we pretty much always see orangutans in the wild. I mean, working with animals is no guarantee, but we go to areas specifically where we know there's obviously orangutans, and we work with some really great professional people. So we work with the real heroes of conservation on the ground. And reflecting back to the last question, one of the tours that we do with Garry is our Sumatran, North Sumatran tour, where we camp in the Aceh rainforest and follow wild orangutans. And we often see the same orangutans year after year, and it's a wonderful experience that we go through, and it's just such a beautiful experience.
So Jody would also like to know, is there the opportunity to spend time taking photos?
It's wonderful, and a lot of people become avid photographers once they come back, because the subject matter is absolutely beautiful. And if you're into photography at all, it's certainly a fantastic idea to come into the rainforest, and the diversity of wildlife and opportunity and scenes, and the dramatic rainforest, and the rainforest and the riverine forest around the rivers is beauty beyond compare.
Okay, I think that might be all of our questions. Now we have the last one. Jody wanted to know, do we actually see the same orangutans at each visit, or does Leif see the same orangutans? And I think that the answer was yes.
I certainly mix it. We often just see new orangutans, and often, of course, because we go in the same areas on the particular tours, we get to see some of the same orangutans again.
Okay. We just had another one come through. What types of accommodation do we offer?
Well, you can do that one, Hayley,
yeah.
I think.
Okay. So depending on the tour, we have various different types. In the cities, we try to aim for a Western style hotel, which, has all the modern facilities, Wi-Fi, your pool, all those sorts of things. Obviously, when you're out in the jungle and in remote destinations, that can become challenging. So we have boats that we travel on that have bathrooms, and people sleep on the deck, and they're very happy to do so because they wake up in the morning to the sounds of the jungle, and it's a really fantastic experience. There are camping trips in Sumatra where you have a comfortable tent and it's all set up for you. So while you're out there in your tent, it's not a particularly hard experience. You've got people helping you with setting up. So yes, the accommodation ranges from Western style to more basic camping style, but we have definitely got something that can suit everybody.
Yeah, and a few great, but really, nice eco lodges that we visit as well, which really blend and harmonise into the local environment, and they're a pleasure to stay at.
And one of the things people often come on these ecotours think they're going to lose weight, but the food that Orangutan Odyssey provides you is, oh my God, it's wonderful. And that's one of the great things, you've got good accommodation and wonderful food while having this connection for experience. And in addition to that, if you come on one of the Leif Cocks one, it's mainly vegan food. And obviously that's one of the ways we can, as individuals, reduce our footprint as human beings on this planet. And the food is just absolutely spectacular. So you may not lose weight if you're a great food lover, but you'll still have a wonderful experience on Orangutan Odysseys.
We've got another question here from Chantal, who says, how are the boats? She says she gets seasick.
Oh, Chantal, look, the boat trips we do are on rivers, not in oceans. So they're very flat, they're very calm, very smooth, and we go at a very slow pace. One of the things that we want you to do is relax on the boat. So the boats just putt along by the side of the jungle with the boat crew on the lookout for wildlife. So we hope we stop many times and you'll see a wild orangutan or some monkeys or some birds or maybe a crocodile. We never know what's going to spring up by the side of the river, but it's a very gentle, relaxing, calm, waveless, fantastic trip. Putting along the rivers of the jungle is amazing. So you don't have to worry about being seasick.
It's certainly one of the paradise moments for me is on being on the rivers of Borneo on one of these tours, trekking along, good, beautiful wind in your hair and the coolness from the rainforests. No mosquitoes because you're traveling along nice and slowly, and just watching there, and myself and the guides are spotting orangutans and proboscis monkeys and long-tailed macaques and crocodiles and sacred kingfishers, all while you're sitting there having your coffee and eating fried bananas. So it's, you can't ask for better than one of these beautiful river tours.
I am waiting to experience that wind in the hair moment, but Leif.
We have another question here from Alice who says, what other wildlife do you see?
Well, I got both me and Garry can go. I mean, the list is endless. I mean, the Indonesian rainforest is the most biodiverse place on earth. I think like 50% of all the organisms known live in these rainforests. It's just the diversity is beyond compare. But of course, there's always those significant animals that we see regularly and people get excited about, and that is the gibbons, and the wonderful, and waking up in the morning to the gibbons calling in their duets that they perform, singing to each other in the early hours. There's the proboscis monkeys who sit on the side of the river, and and watching them at sunset is beautiful. The mischievous long-tailed macaques, causing trouble within the rainforest community. The crocodiles, the saltwater, freshwater crocodiles. And normally we often see on the tours is the freshwater dolphins that are still hanging on in some of these rivers, and they're magnificent. And of course, it's Orangutan Odyssey, so we always focus on seeing the orangutans, as well as the diverse bird life, everything from the stalk-billed kingfisher to the storm storks, to the Brahminy kites, and it's just, we'll take up the whole the whole webinar listing all the wonderful animals that are available to see in Indonesian forest.
Yeah, I would also point out that we have a lot of people who are extremely interested in plants as well. So the vegetation in the jungles is endless. It's absolutely amazing. Along with the insects and reptiles that are available to be seen as well. So the list goes on and on.
Okay. Well, I think that wraps up our Q&A section for our first webinar. We'd like to thank you for joining the webinar, and we hope you enjoyed hearing from Garry and Leif. We're looking forward to meeting you in person on one of our tours one day. And we'll also be holding another online event on the 12th of November during Orangutan Caring Week. So keep an eye on our social media platforms for instructions on how you can join. Thanks and goodbye. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody, and look forward to having a nice cold bintang with Garry and anyone that comes along on our tour.
Bye.
Yeah, we hope to see you over here in Indonesia sometime soon. Bye.